Hello people, this is PowerRider here with the review of the Legend Ultra Henshin series, X-Devizer. So you might be wondering, what is this series specifically? This is a series they're doing for the new generation, which they haven't continued off of. I wonder if they're still going to do it, or they only just are planning to do these two. But this is essentially their way of re-releasing changers, but simplifying them a bit so then you can get more out of it than just straight up re-releasing it. So obviously the one I have here is the X-Devizer from Ultraman X, as you can see him right here. The huge thing with... So they re-released this and the Ginga Spark. However, they actually removed Spark Doll compatibility. That's kind of for the better, but I can see some people getting turned off by that. I was, but that's why we look into this. So here's the top, the left, the right with X, the bottom, and the entire instructions for this, because we're actually going to need this, because this essentially tells you all the functions this has. So let's get right to this. So here's the X-Devizer. So technically, as you can see right here, this looks exactly identical to its original DX one. Just however they changed the inner electronics to simplify it. Because obviously, one of the most notable changes is that they filled the spot in where the Spark Doll / Cyber cards would have been red. But other than that, it's completely identical. Even to this, which I still think the X-Devizer is a really fantastic changer. You got the two buttons here. Like, everything here just looks like the DX one. I don't think with the X-Devizer specifically they had to like reproduce it or anything. The Ginga Spark, on the other hand, from what I can tell, is like drastically different. But I will get into that when I get into conclusions. This requires 3 AAA batteries, which I don't really think it needed to, especially because of all the functions it does. But I feel like one specifically was for the LED. Anyway, so we get on to that, just the on-off switch right here. So there we get the activation sound with X, and if we hold these buttons down, so the way this toy is going to work is that these ones are already going to initiate like transformation, like what you already do when you're transformed. So to get like phrases, you have to hold the button down and such. So you hold this right one, you get X phrases, and you hold this left one, you get sounds out of the X-Devizer. So, and that's the sound of X waiting for you if you don't, you take too long. So to reactivate them, just press do anything. So then, if you hold this button down, you get 8 phrases from X. And these are directly from the original X-Devizer. And then after that, it'll go back. So from X-Devizer, for the X-Devizer phrases, you get 9. so that's basically it. So just to prove that you can't like do any of the stuff, well, after I actually show this off. So obviously, you know X's transformation. You press this down and use the spark doll to scan it. Whoa, here, so obviously to transform, you just press this button right here.
Ultraman X とユナイトします。
For this toy, it's simplified to just pressing this button down, which is technically actually accurate, because they actually did do that sometimes in the show where Daichi would just cut to that and they would cut to the rise scene, so I like that. But obviously, it does kind of suck that you can't use your spark doll, because this is technically the only spark doll I have proof of that. Because obviously, because Daichi would just slam this down to here, and then... Yes, I get it. You can actually activate it like... You have to close it up. Like that. I shouldn't have done that. Let me turn it off and turn it back on. So, obviously you can't scan this anymore. So, and just to prove this, you don't need to flip them all out. It's only this one. So, to try to emulate this,
Ultraman X とユナイトします。
whoops. So, you can emulate it. You just have to do it quickly and such. Again, it's your imagination. And just to note with the transformation, I do like the ultra replica-esque quality they're trying to do with it. Because obviously X's grunt and the phrase obviously occur after the transformation, but because they're trying to go off with the Ginga Spark, because the Ginga Spark, the sounds are literally carried over from the ultra replica version, which is... Yes, I know. So, they're carried over from that. So I do like what they're trying to do with this. Because I think from what I know from this toy, this has a better quality speaker than the original X-Devizer, so that's neat. And obviously, you're probably wondering about cyber card functionality. I don't have cyber cards, obviously, but... So, obviously, the slot for the cards are still present, but... You can't put them all the way. You can't put them in all the way because they actually... Yes, I know X. They actually put a stopper here, which is just kind of funny. So like, I kind of wish they didn't, because it's just like... So then like you can actually fully put in like cyber cards still, but no, they added a stopper. Because I originally tested it with my Gomba Rising Cross Charge card, which is what I realized is actually thicker. So I did not know that these... I think because of the fact you scan these ones with... Yeah, I did not know Gomba Rising cards were thicker than fusion cards. I'm sorry if that was not in focus, but I guess this is like the right mass to put them in. But yeah, so you can't use cyber cards, obviously. However, they substituted that with the left button, because if you just press the right button, X just says that. So sadly, he doesn't do his finisher, because you get his finisher via his cyber card, I believe, but they didn't put that in, sadly. So to get the cyber armors, just press the left button. And then to do the finishers, press the right button. And after that, he would go back to that. So, next one.
サイバーエレキングロードします。サイバーエレキングアーマーアクティブ。エレキング電撃波。サイバーレムスターロードします。サイバーレムスターアーマーアクティブ。レムスターリバース。サイバーレッドンロードします。サイバーレッドンアーマーアクティブ。レッドン火炎弾。
Last but not least.
ウルティメイトゼロロードします。ウルティメイトゼロアクティブ。
That's kind of funny. That's because of this. Although I think this did get released. This got released a month after, but sadly there's no finisher. So that's basically it. I'm going to turn this off so then X doesn't bother me. Overall, what I have to say about the Legend Ultra version of the X-Devizer, it's a nice substitute. I really have to say that because from what I know about the original version of like its SparkDog compatibility, it's actually not a lot, and it's not as like huge like the Ginga Spark or the Victory Lance, because of the fact they were trying to prioritize the cyber cards. The cyber cards is where you get the typical stuff. It's just that, you know, since they're using Spark dolls, they're just like might as well have that compatibility. This is just fun. But I would say this is a good substitute for people that don't obviously want to buy into X's toy line, and it's actually kind of a smart idea that they actually just put all the sounds in here. Although with the X-Devizer, I would have liked that they had like the Exceed X summoning sound of like when he uses the Exceed X Spark doll within this. It says like Ultraman X power up and such. And obviously, as I said before, I would have liked if the Zynaman and Coulson was in this, or like Ultimate Zero armor finisher was in this, because I think Ultimate Zero actually did have a finisher. I don't remember. And I would have liked if they had a hybrid armor sound, but I understand that wasn't in the original toy, because that's like this toy is just literally using the sounds that were already existent within the X-Devizer itself. So that's why I'm like kind of giving this the pass. I wonder if this does mean if we're getting an Ultra Replica X-Devizer, especially with its sound quality and such, because as I stated before, the Ultra Legend version of the Ginga Spark is essentially like a DX version of the Ultra Replica version, because the sound quality is the same. They're pulling sounds out of that. But the thing I don't really like about the Ginga Spark is that it really feels lacking because of the fact that the thing with the Ginga Spark is that it relies so much on the Spark dolls that without it, it's just boring. While with this, it was a hybrid, so like, and also because I guess with this you were actually able to do his forms. The Ginga Spark you weren't able to go through a Ginga 7 emotions, because with the Ginga Spark you had I think like 9 to 11 kaijus, but that's kind of it. You weren't even able to transform to like the 5 Ultramen that were highlighted, or 4 maybe. Yeah, Ultraman 7, Taro, and Tiga, they didn't have those sounds. But with this, obviously you had his main four cyber armors plus Ultimate Zero, which it's really cool they actually did have that. So I just feel like this overall is just better because of its sound bake and such. Although I would have, this is a nitpick, I would have liked that they updated X's grunt to how it is like in the Orb Ring and the G-Riser, just because I think that's more defining than like what they had here. So I would have liked his grunt for like the transformation because it's just like it works a lot more than what they tried to come up with. But I actually really do like what they did with the transformation because like even though I would have liked to have the clean transformation, I have the orb ring for that. So that's basically it. I really like this re-release overall. I hope they continue this series, but I don't know how they would do that because obviously the Genghis Spark and X-Devizers were obviously accessible, but then like obviously you can do the Victory Lance, but how are you supposed to do things like the Orb Caliber or not Orb Caliber? They can do the Orb Caliber. I don't understand why they didn't release that. They can do the Orb Ring. Like, how are you supposed to do the Orb Ring and G-Riser and the Rube Gyro? How are you supposed to do those three? Like, you can do the Taiga Spark. No one wants to buy a simplified Taiga Spark, but you can do it. So, yeah, that's basically it for this review. I love this toy overall. It's just nice to have a representation of the X-Devizer, especially because X is one of my favorite Ultramen. I just think it sucks that they haven't gotten him back in any recent stuff because I do think it's kind of weird of Daichi voice and everything, which is why it's just really weird to like hear X talking because it's like I haven't heard him say anything. This is PowerRider, and I'll leave people by.